Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Kottabos Space Program, where today we are having a look at yet another wonderful mod, this time in the form of the Buffalo Modular Space Exploration Vehicle, which is being made by forum user Angel125, who you may remember brought us the lovely Pathfinder mod that we looked at not too long ago, and similarly to the Pathfinder mod, this particular parts pack is geared towards exploration. But rather than being used to construct temporary bases, we are now building modular vehicles to serve a wide variety of purposes. And well, that's just wonderful. I always love looking at new rover parts, and the modular nature of this particular pack really has me excited. So let's just jump right on into the spaceplane hangar and take a look at all the parts that make up this glorious mod. But first, I have to point out something that just plain amuses me. Now, I always love when a mod maker adds a unique button for their mod. It just makes life so much easier for finding that particular mod. But it entertains me that it's a buffalo. I mean, I know the name of this mod is the Buffalo Modular Space Exploration Vehicle, but the fact that the button is a buffalo just, I don't know, it makes me smile. But yes, if we just hit this button, we are brought into all the lovely pieces that make up this Buffalo Modular Space Exploration Vehicle, and we are going to start with probably the most important of the parts, the Command Pod, which is just aptly named as the Buffalo Command Pod. And it's a pretty lovely designed thing. I really do like the look of it, and it is a pretty standard command pod, minimum of 1 crew to operate, maximum of 2. It does have a reaction wheel, a crew report, of course, 50 electrical charge, and 20 monopropellant. But what I really like about this thing is the look and design of it. It is very well modeled, very well textured, and the look of it is quite unique. Now, the actual models are based off of 2 things. It's sort of meant to be a mix of the real-world NASA multi-mission modular space exploration vehicle, as well as the ground vehicles that we see scattered around the Kerbal Space Center. It's supposed to be reminiscent of those as well, which I quite like the idea of. Instead of being a little bit more rounded like the NASA version, we have the more angled sort of, visors, or not visor, but windshield here, as we have with one of these vehicles going around the ground. It's quite cool. Now, besides having that lovely look, we have a few cool features to it. Of course, now we can turn our cabin lights on and off, as with so many parts out there. Now, I do like headlights being on. It's always good to have a rover command pod with headlights. Not everyone seems to add those in. But what I think is probably the most unique feature of this is something I wish more rover mod makers would add to their command pods. It has its own built-in ladder, so instead of having to fiddle around with one of the pre-existing ladders, we just hit this, and it extends outward and then down, which is glorious because it first extends outward, so your Kerbal isn't, clambering over the wheels of your rover. They walk out past the wheels and then go down, and it just provides us with this lovely little platform for your Kerbal to walk on, and it's glorious. I really do love the look of this thing. Now, if you don't want Kerbals to be involved, we actually do also have a probe core here, which has a reaction wheel, SAS, and a mere 15 electrical charge, which we can just pop right on top here. And what I really like about the design of this is it's meant to be involved and in line with the Buffalo's chassis system. Now, so let's start talking about the chassis real quick. Now, the first part we're going to look at is the Buffalo end piece chassis, which you can put on the front or back of your rover to provide just a nice angled look to the chassis. And then from here, we can pop additional chassis pieces onto the Buffalo vehicle. And that's, again, why I like this probe core. It's in line with the chassis. So you could actually build one of these into a regular rover, so if your crew, for instance, needs to go home and sleep in their lovely base they've constructed on the moon, you could still have this rover go and do work someplace, because the probe core would be here to control it, which is quite nice that you could have both in one go, and it fits nicely in line with the rest of the chassis system. Now, as for the other chassis pieces, beside the end piece, we have 2 different sort of central chassis pieces. This one being only 1 unit in size, and the other being 2 units in size. And what's fun about these, you'll notice they do have stuff on the interior. Now, by default, these are both batteries, the small one having 198 battery charge and the larger one having 396. But what's cool about these is you can convert them over to storage and then configure them to be whatever you need them to be. So fission pellets or liquid fuel oxidizer, just whatever you need for the situation, which is quite cool. I like that it's resources that are in line with the chassis, you know, no wasted space. I wish the end piece had them on there as an addition, but oh well, what are you gonna do? Now, the next important parts, other than the chassis, are going to be the flatbeds, because, well, this is a sort of exploration rover. It could also be used for carrying freight, etc. And we have 4 different sizes of flatbeds that you can plop on top of the chassis. Now, this first one here is... oh boy, let's get it over... there we go. And this one's a sort of 2x2 in size that, you know, nice lovely flatbed. So your Kerbals can come out of this door here and then just walk around on this flatbed. But it, of course, also does have attachment points, so you can put cargo containers here, which is always quite convenient. Now, the next one in size is another sort of 2 wide flatbed, but it's only 1 in depth, which is quite nice. So nicely in line with the rest of the whole body of the rover. Now, as for the next sizes of flatbeds, these are 2x3 wide, which is quite cool. So it goes beyond the extent of the rover body, but as you can see here with the ladder, why I've kept it extended is because it does have that little extra wing on the platform, so your Kerbal can walk out of the door and then onto the flatbed from here as well, which is quite nice and convenient. And it's just a nice good 2 depth and like 3 wide, and then of course this one only being 1 in depth, but 3 wide. Very, very good. Oh god, if I could attach it right, I'll just boom, plop it on there horribly. There we go, some lovely flatbed pieces. Now, the flatbeds aren't the only things that you could attach onto here. We also have this Buffalo crew cabin, which just slaps right onto the chassis, just like the flatbeds do. But this will hold some extra crew. In fact, it will hold 2 crew, and it does also have 400 electric charge and does have some lovely solar panels on the top, so you don't really have to worry about adding your own solar panels everywhere. Now, what's really fun about this is, of course, well, you can also turn on the lights on and off, just like on so many pieces, but it too has an extendable ladder. Now, this one doesn't have the little wing, so if you have that 3 wide flatbed, it won't really help with that, but it does... actually, never mind, it still actually kind of would, because I just noticed something that I didn't notice when I was building earlier. This needs the little wing because, of course, it has this little gap between the door, the ladder, and where the flatbed would be. Whereas this part, on the other hand, doesn't have that same gap, so it would just go right onto the flatbed there. Lovely! I just noticed that. Oh, good on me. And yes, it's a lovely little crew cabin there, very handy for holding your extra crew. Now, one thing I hadn't mentioned, both the command cab and also this crew cabin do have IVA views. It's a little screwy, though. I'll talk more about that when we're outside looking at one of these in the real world. But yes, as for other things we could pop onto here, we also do have this wagon, which is quite nice, and similarly just attaches to the chassis system. And this is meant to be mobile storage. Now, you can change it to whatever resources you need, just like we could with the chassis pieces. And what you'll notice here is, like with the inflatable storage containers that we have on mods like the Pathfinder mod, when it's deflated, it only holds 1 or a very small fraction of the resource. But if we inflate this, there we go, beautiful, we can now hold a crap load more, as this is now being able to hold 12,600 liquid hydrogen. And yes, it also does have solar panels on the top, so it can produce its own electricity. And yeah, it's just nice to have this mobile storage. So if you're having some storage woes at one of your bases, you can drive one of these rovers up, inflate it, and have some temporary storage, which is quite nice. And of course, when inflated, it does match up much more nicely with the 3 wide flatbeds, which is kind of cool. So you just have these giant trucks, which is quite nice. Now, as for other pieces that we have, let's actually grab you again. Excellent. And take a look at a few parts that are quite convenient because they allow you to get one of these potentially into space. Now, they are kind of oddly shaped, of course, so if you want to launch one of these from a rocket, you have 2 different options for that. The first is this Buffalo adapter. Now, when you attach one of these adapters to your Buffalo rover, there we go. It goes from the rectangular shape of the Buffalo crew cabin here to the round shape which fits a 1.25 meter rocket. So you can just add a nice decoupler here and then build your rocket off of the back. Now, alternatively to this, we also have this chassis decoupler, which is my personal favorite of the 2 options, because this attaches to the chassis down here. Similarly, goes to the 1.25 meter rocket size. So you can launch this thing up into space, and then when you decouple this, it detaches at this chassis point. So you don't have this weird sort of rounded edge to your rover. Instead, you have just the nice, I prefer the sort of flat look to this rover in the back, so it's quite cool. This just drops away. Plus, it looks like one of those swamp boat fans, and that just amuses me. I'm sure there's probably a proper name for that, but I don't remember it. Now, the next part we have is a Buffalo trailer hitch, and this is to allow you to dock between 2 different rover systems. Or if you just want to build a giant flatbed, you attach one of these Buffalo trailer hitches to your vehicle, and you're good to go. Now, I'm going to show one thing here. You'll notice lovely texturing on here, no docking. This tells you that you have it the wrong way around. So, if we flip this thing, there we go, and actually properly hold on. Boom. Excellent. We now have a lovely trailer hitch so that we can connect 2 of these rovers together. Now, another fun thing is this also has its own ladder. So if you have a big flatbed back here, your Kerbals can go out this door, walk down the flatbed, and then down this ladder here, which is quite convenient. You'll also notice that we have 2 pipe attachment points here, and that is because this mod is compatible with the Kerbal inventory system and the Kerbal attachment system, which we're going to talk about briefly here now. The next part I want to have a look at here is the wheel jack, and this is quite interesting. This part is meant to be put somewhere on your craft or inside of a Kerbal inventory system compatible container, and what you do is you drop this on the surface of a planet, bolt it to the surface, and then you actually build the rover on top of this. All of these parts that make up the Buffalo Modular, oh boy, I'm suddenly forgetting the name, Modular Space Exploration Vehicle are Kerbal Inventory System and Kerbal Attachment System compatible. So you can drop one of these wheel jacks on the ground and then build the rover on top of it, and then once you're done, just detach it and go. And that is wonderful. So you can build one of these on site on your at one of your bases or on a planet somewhere, which is quite cool. I do love that idea of building things in situ, and well, the wheeljack makes that possible. Now, I'm not actually going to show building one of these rovers off here in this episode because we've done that in plenty of other videos in the past, showing off the Kerbal inventory system and attachment system. So just once again, you use this wheeljack and you say have it on the ground, and you'd start building the rover off of this thing, and then just detach it and drive away into the sunset. And that is just wonderful. Now, the last part that we have to look at is, I mean, technically a part of this mod. It's the M1A1 rover wheel, which is pretty much, basically it just replaces the standard M1A1 rover wheel. And yeah, you just attach that to the side of your vessel there, at the different attachment points on the side of the chassis, and that's the wheel that you use for this. Now, I'm a little disappointed in this part. I would really have preferred a custom wheel, but oh well, what are you gonna do? We just gonna have to live with this, at least for now. I hope they do make a custom wheel for this in the future, but for the time being, this is a perfectly functional wheel. It's just kind of odd seeing this M1A1 rover wheel being used from the main game and just being brought into here. But oh well, c'est la vie. That is all of the parts that we have on hand here. So let us go look at one of these actually constructed out in the field and have a gander at the internals of the crew cabin and the command pod. There's the term. God, I'm blanking on words again today. But yeah, so the internal parts is a little strange. I'll talk about why here momentarily. But yes, here is our lovely, very, very long rover. Now here we have the trailer hitch, which once you do have the two combined together, it just works like one giant elongated vehicle. Sadly, it's not articulated. I don't even know if that's possible in-game. I mean, it might be with one of the... there are some hinge mods out there, but... yeah, for now, it is just a giant solid chunk that you move around, which can get cumbersome if you make this thing far too long, which this kind of almost is there. Oh boy, but thankfully, this part back here does actually have its own probe core, so if we wanted to, if, say, this length was getting too cumbersome, we could just stop, undock, and then drive away. Drive away to safety. And if we so desired, we could then go back over to this other vehicle, and it too, since it has the probe core here, just cycle the brakes on and off, can then be driven independently. So if there's ever a time where there's a really tight spot, for instance, I had to detach these things to get them up this slope, because combined together, oh, it didn't work. Now, why are you not wanting to dock now? Hold on a moment, let's get more in line. Then try again. And there we go, beautiful. And now we're back to the large, almost too large thing here. And yeah, we can drive around to our heart's content. And of course, we do have the crew hatches so we can get out, say, Valentina Kerbin. And she can come out in the back here and, walk around the flatbeds. We can go inflate this big part back here. Oh god, I love that inflating. It's just glorious. And now we have a Kerbal on a flatbed with an inflated module. Oh yeah, and this thing. The detachment, or the decoupler there. So let's get Valentina back inside. And, oh no, not camera free. There we go. Almost forgot to show off this decoupler, because yes, like I said, I prefer this decoupler, because... I don't know why, but I like it being in line with the chassis, and then all we have to do is hit space, and boom, it launches away, and now we have a nice, clean line for the back of our rover. I just like that. And plus, that means you could have that at the back of, say, this rover here, rather than the hinge, so that we could, have the rover ending in a flatbed, which is quite nice. I do definitely enjoy it. Now, as for the internals of both the crew cabin and the command pod, it's a little weird. Now, it's not a necessity, but it is recommended that you have installed the raster prop monitor mod, the asset props mod, and the asset avionics mod, because they use parts from all of those to make up the interiors of these, which I'm not a big fan of. For some reason, the asset props pack and the asset avionics pack tend to cause my computer to freak out and go really slow. So if we go to the IVA view of the command pod, it looks gorgeous, but I'm now down to 10 frames per second. I don't know why, but all these little gauges and knobs, these are all added by the asset props pack and asset aviation pack, and of course the raster prop monitor screens. And for some reason, those things just kill my game. Now, if you don't have these installed, this is literally just going to be a black panel with nothing here except for the nav balls right here and right there. That is it. That's all you're going to have here, which is sort of depressing. I kind of wish they would have gone with a textured look rather than using these, because each of these individual dials is an individual asset. And yeah, it just seems to kill my game. I don't know if it does it for everyone, because obviously people use these packs because they love the look of them, but for me, on my computer, it seems to kill it. But yes, this is our lovely little internal command pod here. I do quite like it. We've got the snacks and towels, etc. all back there, which is quite nice. The good little seats. I do like the detailing on everything. It is quite cool indeed. Now, if we go over to Jebediah here and get a look on the other side, we've got the board games up there. Very nice. And I'll just, a good look to the overall cabin. Very cool. Now, in the back crew cabin, we have this, oh boy, kind of a little bit of a mess back here, honestly. All those containers over there of stuff and things. The door there is kind of glitchy. As you can see, it's half just nothing. I don't know why, but that seems to be a thing. And we have this lovely computer here of there apparently being a debate about how people get onto Eve, because apparently that's not possible. But yes, we have a fold-out shower on that side, hammocks, etc., a fold-out commode. We have a lovely window there so we can look out into the world. Now go over to Valentina. She's got her own window there. Now, and when we're on this side, the other half of the door is blacked out. Yeah, I don't know why that is, but that is a thing. And yeah, it's a very nice area in here. I do like it. It could use a bit more texturing work, but yeah, it's these dials in here. They really kill my game. I just can't deal with them. Now we're back outside, and I'm back up to a smooth 60 frames per second. But yeah, inside that command pod, it just tanks to 15. It's painful, man. Very, very painful. But, oh well, we have a cool rover to drive around in, even if the internal areas kill your frame rate. Again, that might just be my computer. I've never had much luck with the asset prop pack and the asset avionics packs. If you do want to play around with those, they are, of course, linked in the mod post for this mod, because, again, they are recommended. Not required, though. You'll just have black panels in there. And yeah, overall, I love this whole system. It's a very, very nice whole rover system. And also, you could use these parts quite easily for things other than rovers. You could build bases with them, or space stations perhaps, even potentially add them to a space plane. It'd be a kind of a weird square plane, but you know what? It would still be quite nice, I think. Overall, though, it's just a cool little pack. I love that we have like these additional points here where we could attach things to the side of one of these rovers, or pop a docking port onto here and drive next to a base to dock with it. And we got the cool flatbeds. I love the inflatable storage, the built-in solar panels. It's just all in all a very, very nice mod. It could use a little bit of work on things like the wheels, as I've mentioned, but overall, I really love this thing and cannot wait to see how it does progress into the future. Hopefully we'll get more modular pieces and more cool things to add to these rovers. It would be quite nice indeed. But yes, if you would like to try out this mod for yourself, you can take a look at the link in the description, as always. And if you do build a really cool rover with this system, I would love to see what sort of creative ideas you guys might be able to come up with that I simply probably wouldn't be able to. And yeah, just tweet them to me, Google+, Facebook, whatever social medias you use, and yeah, I'd love to see them. But that is going to be it for this episode today. I hope you all have enjoyed, and of course that you do come back for the next. But until then, thank you for watching, my friends, and as always, have a good one. Now let's see how fast we can get this thing going. I haven't seen how quickly this whole long thing can get. So far, 16 meters per second. Oh, we're up to 17. 18. Come on, 20. Can we get 20? We got 20! Oh, look at it go. It's a speed demon. Surprisingly, with this giant, wide storage module in the back. But yeah, not speeding up much past that. We'd probably top out at 25, I think, or so. But yeah, that is going to be it again, folks. Hope you have enjoyed, and later.